Hey everyone, and welcome to the Balanced Bodies Blueprint. I am your host, Vinny Russo.
And I am your co-host, Dr. Erin Stansfield.
And we're shifting gears from all the conventional fitness narrative you hear on most fitness podcasts, as our main emphasis lies in preventative healthcare, adopting a holistic approach to nutrition, and challenging the traditional views on various fitness topics.
Our mission with this podcast is to provide you with the information you need to achieve optimal health.
Welcome to another episode of Until It's Done, a devoted podcast. I'm your host, Lynn Kaye. I am here with a special guest today. He's actually a guy who I've been following on social media for quite a while, and he posts stuff all the time that I resonate with, that I love. I'm always like giving it a double tap, or I'll even like show up in his DMs and be like, oh, I love what you said. Like he aligns with a lot of my thinking. And lately, he's been even like doing a lot of myth busting and some really cool stuff on his page. So we reached out to each other. We've been going back and forth a while about either doing a live or doing something. I knew when I was doing a podcast that I was going to have this guy on. So welcome to the show, Vinny Russo.
Thank you for having me, Dan. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Okay, first of all,
I love all the social media love you give me too. So
yeah, I love the stuff. I love the stuff that you put in, you put out.
Yeah, it's cool. Like when you message me and you're just like, hey, like I was thinking that today. I'm like, good.
Right.
Great minds think alike. Yeah.
Isn't it? It's cool when you're on social media and something that is either going on in your life right at the moment is like something that's bothering you, whether it's like a lot of the days, like the scale, like we all like women like, talk about the scale all the time. For some reason, we're always like, we're all hung up on that stupid thing. And you did like a post one day. It was exactly what I needed to hear about the scale. And I'm like, oh, thank you for saying that. Like, even though I know I've been doing this for like over 25 years with this fitness stuff, I know this stuff, but sometimes just hearing it again just reminds us, because our minds can play crazy tricks on us. And then you said something like brilliant about the scale. And I was like, okay, thank you, Vinny.
Yeah. So sometimes we all just need a reminder. And it's funny. It's like I coach, but I also use a coach, right?
Sure.
It's like we need those reminders. We need to be put in place sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
No.
Pretend like you know everything, but like sometimes shit slips through, right? And
exactly.
That little reminder just, it's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to feel so bad about myself today.
And at the end of the day, we're all human. That's the thing. It's like, we're not perfect. We forget, or sometimes our minds can play like, you know, like as much as like I've been through it. I've been through competition preps. I competed for 10 years. Like I know my body really well. I've done photo shoot preps. I've done like all kinds of things. And yet I'll still let things get to me, even knowing that like our bodies fluctuate, even know like how many holidays do I have to like go through, or things that I like, my weight's going to go up, my body's going to feel like crap after eating. And yet I'm still, it's like I still get like hung up on either the scale or the bloat or the weight, thinking like, oh my God, I gained weight, you know? And I know you cover a lot of that stuff on your page.
Yeah, it doesn't help that, you know, all the stimulus that you get is kind of leading towards that wrong mindset. Right. So it's like you're supposed to be losing weight. You're not supposed to be gaining weight during the holidays. You're supposed to be strict. It's like, well, you're getting all these coming at you from different angles. You're gonna keep reminding yourself of that, of those old thought patterns. Even though you know better, they're reminding you too, right? It's like you should be losing scale weight. Well, why should I be losing scale weight during the holidays?
Right.
I enjoy myself a little bit. Like you're not gonna. If you think about like the consistency aspect of it, it's like if you're enjoying Thanksgiving and then you're enjoying Christmas and you're doing, I don't know, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Sure. What's the big deal? What is those three days? Like,
yeah.
Chill out.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're not going to gain fat that quickly. You might jump up a little bit on the scale weight, but it's probably going to be just water that you'll work off in 3 days anyway.
Right. Exactly. And the funny thing is like, you know, I mean, what to even keep expecting like losses all the time. The body doesn't work like that. If I just kept losing weight, I mean, I'd be 12 pounds by now. It's like, you know, I mean, I know I always want to see a drop in the scale because it's like satisfying to be like, oh, okay, I'm going down. Good. I'm doing it right or whatever. Not that you always want to be losing, but it's that yo-yo. I mean, with women's bodies, a lot of monthly fluctuations, and that gets into our mental. So anyway, but I want to first introduce you, as far as I want you to tell us about, you know, who you are, what you do, so that the deeper we get into the conversation, everybody knows who Vinny is. So what do you do? Tell me about you.
So I am the director of nutrition for Balanced Bodies. I am the head nutrition coach there. It's basically me and a board certified physician. Her name's Dr. Erin Stansfield. And together we do a health first body transformation. So really, really focus on optimizing your health. And then the transformation comes along with that once we make sure, you're healthy enough to do so. And a lot of people, usually come where they're not eating that many calories, and you got to kind of say, well, we can't cut really here. So let's work you up a little bit. Let's optimize your health. Let's get you primed for a cut. And then that's kind of what we do. But do that. I personal train here and there. It's not a passion of mine, the personal training. It used to be, not anymore. Now nutrition is basically everything that I love to do. But I personal train here and there. I am a pro physique athlete. I have my master's in applied clinical nutrition. I have a bunch of certifications like precision nutrition, nutrition dynamic, NCI, dominate. Like I have a bunch of just random certifications just to see if I could keep learning more and more and more about nutrition. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that was a quick, brief intro.
Yeah, no. And I see, you're full of knowledge. And like I said, I really like, the stuff that you put out is quality, which I like. I don't like all the hokey gimmicky stuff. And recently you even put out, you had a post all about, people who are just always or jump into the next fad diet and maybe why it's not going to work for them in the long run, which I really like too, because I've been on social media for many years, and there are many people who I followed throughout the years they're people who have struggled with their weight or to try to find themselves. And we've all been there where it's kind of like, you got to find like what works for you, what you can kind of make your lifestyle, what you can maintain. But I would see these people jumping from announcing their next diet where it's they're on Whole30 and then they're on paleo and then they're doing the carnivore diet and then they're doing, intermittent fasting is really working and then keto. And I'm just like, oh my God, weren't you just doing something else last month? Oh my gosh. And I know that, you feel strongly like I do about making it a lifestyle and having lifelong habits, healthy habits that you can then see the long term. Tell me about what's your approach with your company and what you do with your coaching now?
Yeah. Well, first, if I'm having a potential client come on and they're talking about how, when I did keto, it worked for me. And when I did intermittent fasting, it was the best I ever felt. And I'm like, that's great. If you successfully transformed your physique with a keto diet, carnivore diet, intermittent fasting, or even some BS 30-day cleanse, congratulations, you were in a calorie deficit. That's how you lost the weight.
Right.
It wasn't the keto. It wasn't the intermittent fasting. It wasn't the special window. But what I like to, emphasize is that anything that you tried in the past, if you're still looking for an answer, they didn't work for you. Yep. So you might have thought they did, but did you sustain it? No, because that's why you're reaching out to me. So when it comes down to creating diet plans, it's really, you got to work with their preferences. How many meals do you want to eat per day? Well, I want to eat 3 with a snack. Okay, cool. Well, can you fit that into your schedule? Yes. All right, great. So you can't be a coach that's hey, you need to eat 6 meals per day. Every 3 hours you got to eat, because it's not going to fit into schedules, right? So you have to work with their preferences, and you have to let them tell you, or this is at least what I do, let them tell me what foods they want to have in their diet plan. Because if you make their meals something they look forward to, you're going to have increased adherence. If you have increased adherence over time, that's more consistency. And we know consistency builds results. So when it comes down to it, you got to work with what you actually like and what you could do during your day. If I have clients that do intermittent fasting, it's because they have so much shit to do in the morning.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't even need to eat. I don't want to eat. I don't care. I'll just start eating at lunch. And I'm like, perfectly fine. Then let's do it.
Okay.
Because that fits their lifestyle.
Right.
So it's got to go with their lifestyle. Keto, I had 2 clients in all of my years coaching actually want to do keto and say they could sustain it for a lifestyle. And through our program, they did sustain a keto diet. It was a little bit different though. They were more trying to eat higher protein amounts, which I'm all about, but then that's technically not keto. That's bodybuilder keto, right? The fat dominance. It's crazy how much fat.
Yep.
You got
the real keto is.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah. But I've done it, and I'm I was very uncomfortable because I like to do things. I like to speak on things that I've done. So I did, keto for a couple months, just just to try it out. And I was like, oh, this is so uncomfortable with all this fat. Like, cause I come from a bodybuilding background, from my competing. And I was like, okay, can I just do more protein? Like, it's uncomfortable. Like if you're not okay. And also I was like, how do I just fat? Like I was eating like practically spoonfuls of like coconut oil. I ran out of ideas of like how to get that fat in.
You grab the sticks and butter and you're chewing on it.
No, it just wasn't for me. I mean, it just is No, but that's interesting if somebody can.
They sustained it. They did. And
wow.
Going off, we gave them a game plan on how to sustain it. It was one of my more difficult things because they were also heavy trainers as well. So they wanted a resistance train to build muscle. And I'm a big believer that carbs help that aspect of it. Yeah. So if you're going to be resistance training, to me, I feel like you really need to have the carbohydrate aspect in there.
Same.
And really use that to your advantage. But you know what? They wanted to lean out. We were able to do that. And hopefully, they're still sustaining their keto diet now. But when it comes down to it, the best diet is going to be the one that you can adhere to the most. So you got to work with your schedule and your preferences,
right?
Figure out a game plan and then go from there and see if that works. I don't mind the whole trial and error. Like, hey, let me try the keto. Let me try the carnivore. Let me try and see what works best for you. That's great. But if you're still looking for something, if you tried all these diets and you're still looking for something, you still didn't find the right game plan for you.
Now, do you feel though, because this just came up somewhere that I was listening to somebody's story today while I was just cruising Instagram, and they brought up a good point that like with some of those like keto, like aren't you missing a lot of micronutrients? Like aren't you missing like so many things from like fruits and like, cause I like to add, I rotate my vegetables and I eat, like yesterday I just ate a grapefruit and I eat blueberries and I eat strawberry. Like I love to get in all the different nutrients from different foods. Like I'm like keto made me feel like I was like, okay, like what about like colors and things?
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, and that's kind of what you got to tell someone that really wants to try this stuff. Cause you don't want to just like be, you just don't want to be like, hey, you got to do exactly what I say.
Right.
So if they want to do it, all right, look, I'll do my best to make it fit, how you want to go.
Yeah.
But if it gets like, we're not seeing great results or it's not sustainable, then guess what? We're going to go to what I know best. Right. But with the keto diet, with the carnivore diet, like you're missing out on phytonutrients, you're missing out on a ton of micronutrients, especially with the carnivore diet. Like fiber is so important and you're just pulling that out. Like there's a bunch of posts I see a lot on TikTok where they're like carnivore diet and like my knee pain went away. Yeah, your knee pain went away because you're eating just meat and you're in a calorie deficit and you lost weight.
Right.
Like it's not because like your inflammation suddenly went away because you took out gluten or carbohydrates. Like no. Like it's literally you lost weight. Like that's why your knee pain.
I was going to say, I was like, I remember when I held more weight on my body or during times of like, well, with my pregnancy or after, whenever I'd hold more weight, everything hurt. My joints hurt. But as soon as I would lose weight, I'm like, oh my God, like all that went away. Cause my frame was not supposed to carry that amount of weight. Like it just wasn't.
Yeah.
So
it's cool. Cause there's like a medium right there because it's like, if you get too heavy, your joints start to hurt. But if you get too lean, your joints start to hurt too, right? So it's kind of like you got to find that middle ground there. Right.
And the majority of people that get too lean, it's like, oh, how often do you see that? And then do they really sustain that anyway, Yeah.
And then that's a problem with me because like when I get stage lean, I get like really, really lean and I love that look.
Yeah.
Right. And it's kind of like, I'm not going to take off my shirt unless I'm like that. Right. So I have a little bit of like this body dysmorphia going on. I know I'm fucked up. It's okay. Like I accept it. It's a part of who I am. And a part of me is always like, I need to be the best at everything I do.
Yeah.
So if I'm not there, I get uncomfortable. Plain and simple.
God, you and I are a lot alike in that aspect. And sometimes I don't think about men being that way, but now that I'm talking to a guy who you went, you competed and you got that lean, getting that lean, because we've spoken about this on some of my episodes too, where we talk about there was an episode with Jen Strobo and Kelly and I talking about hanging up the heels because we all retired from competing. But when you compete and you're so used to getting that lean, looking that lean, showing off your body that lean. And then all of a sudden you go back to like, where you're still to the average person, like, oh my God, you're so fit. You look great. And yet, I mean, I feel like there are times that I know I sound and look like such a psycho on my social media when I'll complain about my physique. And yet women are like, Dana, I would die to look like what you look like. And I'm like, yeah, but like all up here and I'm like holding water and then it's like, what is wrong with you? And I know I'm like, And just like you said, you're like, I know it's has to sound crazy to other people, like hearing, because I'm sure you look great with your shirt off and you definitely hold muscle. I'm sure you're not have all this crazy body fat, but because it's like you see your body get to that conditioning that many times, it's like that for some reason our minds set like a new standard for us. And it's like, oh, this is where we need to be in order to be acceptable.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's crazy.
Your mind sees that peak and it's like, okay, well, I reached this peak, but once you reach a peak, you could see another peak. And now you got to go attack that one.
Yeah.
So it's like maintaining that. And it's funny because like you said, like I guarantee you I'm in better shape than 95% of the population.
Totally.
I don't even know if that's a good thing because our population in terms of overall health and body composition is pretty subpar.
Yeah.
But once you get to that level, once you see yourself at your peak, it's like you don't want to anything away from that is bad. At least that's the way like my mind works.
That's how mine is too. Cause you prove to yourself this, I can do this. Like this is my potential. This is where I can be. I got here. What I should be able to stay here. I deserve to be here. Yeah.
And it's tough. It's a mind fuck, but I said it in one of my podcasts where I was like, my biggest regret was getting stage lean because it mentally, it fucked with me. It really did. But it's a double-edged sword because the journey I go through to get there, I mean, it builds more character in me. I evolve as a human. And then getting there, I mean, shit, like there's no better feeling in the world when you look at yourself, you're like, fuck, like I look good.
It's like a high.
That's what I want to give to my clients. Like we don't have to get stage lean for you to be like that, but to improve. Like I had a client who recently, he was only with me for 4 months and he lost 50 pounds. It was pretty drastic weight loss. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I've never seen this before. And he was maintaining his muscle. He just started training. So it was almost like it was a new stimulus, like the training and then losing. So it was awesome body recomp. And he's 4 months and he's like, dude, he's like, I'm perfect, man. Like, I don't need to go. I'm so happy with the way I look. And the way he looks isn't like what I would look like on stage. Right. But compared to what he dealt with his entire life, it was a whole new him. And he absolutely loves it and he's proud of it. And that's what I love.
That's amazing. That's winning. Yeah. It's those of us who we kept going. When you get that stage lean or you, I mean, God, there's been times that I wasn't even on stage, but I would just get lean for like photo shoots. Like one of my favorite photo shoots, I just posted a picture yesterday of it. And it's like, and I look, and then what happens is I look back at those photos all the time and I'm like, I should look like that's where I should be. I should look like that. I loved being like that. And it's like, Dana, but like, wait, and then I have to kind of like go back and be like, okay, what were you doing when you were there? Like, could you really maintain that? Like, was that really a lifestyle? But like, yeah, I know your body looked like unbelievable, but were you having fun? Like, and not saying having fun, like I wasn't like wild. I never need to while out. I'm a freaking mom of 3 and business owner, but meaning like, like just enjoying myself. And sometimes when I'm on a grind like that for a show or a photo shoot or whatever, but I mean, I did walk around looking like that for a long time, but I wasn't in a happy relationship. I was going through a divorce. And so it's like sometimes, when people would look on somebody's social media, you think like, oh, wow, she looks great, but like what's going on, in the background or what's their lifestyle really like? And is that really sustainable and maintainable? And then, or are they battling their own demons now with, like you said, where in our mind now we set that standard so high. So now those photo shoot pictures, I'm always, And like, I'm in a happier place in my life now. And now I'm like, can I really like, I'm not miserable. So I am going out to eat. I am doing fun stuff. So it's like, okay, well, I don't think I'm going to be able to hold that physique like that. So.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, because like when I'm looking at life, like one of my favorite things to do is to go out and grab dinner. Like I love that. I like getting dressed up and going out, go to like fancy, but I don't care. Like I love doing that and spending money on that because I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
When I'm stage lean, I'm not doing that. Mainly a hermit crab. I want to stay in because I like to have a good time. So if I'm out, I'm going to want to do it. I mean, I built up discipline over the years of doing this to where I could go out and do it, whatever, but I just rather not even be subjected to that.
Exactly.
So like, quality of life is kind of on the lower end. So I'm like, well, which one do I choose here?
Yep.
Do I really want to go that way and stay there like this? Because I felt fucking like shit. Like I was miserable. Like I didn't have energy. My strength was down.
Yep.
My libido was down. It's like, your body's not supposed to be like that, you know?
No.
So,
and the quality of your life. And like you said, it's like, yeah, you could go out with your friend if you want, you could get dressed up, you could, but then I go to the restaurant and be like, I'm going to need a piece of fish and some steamed vegetables. And I'm like, is that really what I want to be like doing tonight? Like I could eat that at home, like on my couch.
Yeah.
Like this isn't my idea. Like why even waste a night out like this? It just isn't the way that I want. Like you said, it's like, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out. I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to have a great time. Feeling low energy, low libido, low everything. It's like, okay, that's not a great time. That's
Like my Saturdays now are like kind of where like I enjoy, like I'll drink wine. I like Pinot Noir. So we'll drink wine, go out to eat, try to meet up with friends, stay out a little bit later than we normally would. And that's like our thing. Like Saturday would be when, you actually enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
The other days are sort of like very structured, especially during the week, because it's easy. You got work, you got things to do.
Yep.
So it's pretty easy to say structured Monday through Friday. When the weekend comes around, you enjoy yourself Saturday, then Sunday, it's like getting back on track. All right, well, let me get ready. Let me get everything ready for Monday, start off good again. And Sunday, it's like, all right, I know I didn't overindulge Saturday. So what I do is like I work things into my plan. So I'm looking at like, all right, maybe I'll do a protein modified fast during the day if I'm going out to eat at night, and I know I'm going to be drinking a couple bottles of wine.
Yeah.
So then when Sunday comes around, it's like, all right, well, I didn't overdo it. So like I could still, I don't need to pull calories at all to try to like catch up or anything like that. Instead, it's my Sunday's going to be normal, and that's just going to lead momentum into Monday, to where like most people get that Sunday scaries going into Monday, where like there's a little anxiety, there's a little like regret from what you did over the weekend.
Yeah.
But if you're on Sunday, I mean, you go right into Monday just like it was Monday into Tuesday.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. No, you and I sound like it's funny how, especially coming from the competition background, it's like it evolves into like how you then make that structure of competition preps. And then you learn, and the discipline, you learn how to like let it slowly like evolve into a lifestyle where, yes, I can keep, I'd say like, I can't like 85-90% of my physique. I'm holding a lot more muscle even these days now that I eat more calories and all of that. Like, am I as lean as I used to be? No, but that's exactly how I structure, where it's like my week is very structured. I always have like that day or night out. And also like if I know I'm going out, or if I have an event or something on that Saturday, that Saturday is, I kind of keep it tight, and because I don't believe in like a cheat day. It's got to be, and not like a cheat, but you know what I mean? Like where you're just kind of, you're just in refeeds or off plan. But I'm, if I take it in the morning, then forget it. The rest of the day, I'm just like, okay. But, but if I know that it's like, okay, that evening, like I can keep structured through Saturday, kind of keep it tight. And then Saturday night, enjoy myself. And nighttime off plans are easier because there's that cutoff that you got to eventually go to bed. So it's going to stop, It's not like it could just, if I did it all day, it would just, I feel like I would just end up eating probably double or triple the calories. And
I mean, it's an all or nothing mentality, because once you
Yep.
start off in the morning, you're just like, fuck it, I messed up anyway,
Yep.
whatever, like going in.
Yeah.
Like you go in, and then like the next day you're like, I feel so shitty about myself and what I did. Like,
Yep.
it's not even worth it. It's not worth the anxiety. Like, not to me. I'm just like, no, man, like I'll keep it as clean as possible. And when I'm going to enjoy myself, I'm going to enjoy myself.
Right. Exactly. And Sunday's always my preparation day, like to make sure like I'm prepared for the week, because like you said, with the structure, if you're keeping the structure, the only way to keep the structure is if I'm prepared. Like I can't, with the rat race of what I feel like my life is half the time. It's like, if I'm not prepared, like right now, I went home, I was home for 30 minutes to grab some stuff and to come out here. I already had my chicken in the fridge ready to go. I grabbed some broccoli slaw, threw that in there with a little guacamole, like quickly, like just mixed it up, threw it, like ate it real quick and out the door again. But if I didn't have that, I would be like, in my pantry, but I had already prepped my chicken. I already had my vegetables. I shopped for everything. I was already ready to go. And I think that that's where a lot of people fall short, is that they don't, you have to use at least one day, whether it's Sunday or your day off, to really plan the structure. It's like, yes, you need your plan, and then you need to like prep everything for the plan, which to us, I know sounds so elementary, but it's like, that is that's like goes back to the whole like plan to fail to plan, or whatever that is back, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree with you 100%. And it's like the simple and boring things that you have to consistently do, they're the ones that lead to these exciting results. The food shopping, the prepping on a specific day, the keeping the meals simple or whatever, just so you're not overthinking. So when you do the simple and boring, that's going to lead to the exciting results, right? Because when you think about it, the words fun and easy are typically not synonymous with greatness, right?
Right.
So those, even though it's boring, even though it's hard to stay with those boring, fundamental, basic foundation habits, even though it's hard to do that, if you just keep at it and you stay consistent with it, you will get pretty damn exciting results.
Yes. And then it becomes exciting. I mean, then it really, I mean, my brand was built out of the excitement of prepping and planning food, because I had, you know, in prep, you have to get really creative, and like, you know, I invented flex flavors, the flavored stevia packets. I used to, you know, we were just phasing out of them. We might bring them back, but like that was all came from when I was in prep, because I was like, oh my God, this is so boring. Like every day I'm having oatmeal, every day I'm having, and it was like, then all of a sudden I became like a wizard in the kitchen to be like, okay, we're going to make this fun, because it is boring. I used to joke that, you know, that movie with a Bill Murray, Groundhog Day.
Of course.
That's what it, like, I was like, I feel like every morning I'm waking up and I'm like, here I go again, you know, but those, what it is, like a monotonous day, like over and over, just repeating those simple things added up to like the amazing results I had even from my first prep, which made me be like, okay, this is what it takes. That's what works. And that was just from a prep, because it was the first time I finally put it together to lose weight. But anybody working with a coach, I mean, do you do macros, or do you do meal plans, or how do you do it for your clients?
I usually do meal plans. I got two different types of programs. One is a little bit more flexible on a day-to-day basis, but you're subjected to just the foods that are there. So a bunch of protein foods, a bunch of carb foods, a bunch of fat foods, a bunch of fruit, any vegetables. But there's all portion sizes per individual food item. And then like your meals are structured out like one protein, one carb, and one fat. Choose it, like whichever one.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I do that. I do structured, which is probably the most efficient in terms of results. And that's where I tell you exactly what to eat, how much to eat, and when to actually eat your meals. And then if they want to do macros, I normally say, let's get into a groove with my systems first, and then we can open up the playbook. And then I'll go macros, or I'll give you a plan just in case like you need something to fall back on, and I'll give you the macros. So it's like when you want to veer off, you can, and just hit those macros. Okay.
Now, this actually opens up to another topic I wanted to cover with you. A lot of times in my head, I go back and forth. For years and years and years, I had a lot of success keeping my body in shape and being lean because I did meal plans. With coaches that I worked with or whatever. And it was always where they would give me a meal plan. I followed it to a T. I always had beautiful results because I was a really good client. And then a couple years ago, I was introduced, I heard about macros for years, and I was like, no, not for me. I'm just doing my meal plan. But then I kind of realized, like, I was like, oh, I've been, in my meal plans for years. Let me try macros. So I switched over to a macro calculator on my phone. And then I realized I was still reaching for the same foods. Like I still eat the same foods I was eating on the meal plan, because I'm like, I don't know what else, Yeah, exactly. And then, but I would still start to work in things. Now, I was never like a dirty, if it fits your macros. I'm not into that. I don't want to fit in a Pop-Tart. I don't eat. Anybody who follows me on social media knows, like, if I'm going to go out and I'm going to have a burger and fries, or I'm going to okay, fine. But on the normal, like on my weekday, I'm not fitting in stuff that doesn't belong, that processed crap. I'm not trying to fit in Pringles. Like it's just not me. But when I do the, if it fits your macros, not if it fits your, but the macros, I'm like, I wonder if my results are as good just trying to do the macros, or fit, or as a meal plan more beneficial. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like to physique changes. Now, because usually when you prep for a show, I always did meal plans from coaches for shows, and I could really get the body fat off, reveal the muscles, have that aesthetic look. Do you feel that that tracking macros is as effective if you're trying to change your physique and get a certain look, or do you feel a meal plan is really more the way to go if you're really trying to crisp up and look a certain way.
If you got your macros on point and you've been doing it for a while, then I would say it's probably the same.
Okay.
I'm a huge believer in having a structured plan and like keeping it as simple as possible. So you're not overthinking, you know exactly what to prep, you know exactly how it is. Like you get these people that want to do like all these elaborate type of meals and throw all these different ingredients in. It's so hard to track all those different food items, all the different ingredients, and what calories they that accumulate up into, you know, that one particular meal. And then you got to try to fit that into your, so it's too much thinking for me. Right. So I'm just like, so what I want to do when I coach people is I want to take the stress out of dieting for them. So let me just give me what food you want to have. I'll build you a plan. You need things changed here and there. We'll change it on a week to week basis, whatever it is. We'll keep it as simple as possible. If you need more stuff, use spices, use herbs, like get into that stuff where, you know, you get some sugar-free dressings, like start using that stuff, open up the horizon. Like you said, you got to get creative. Like I threw fucking cinnamon and protein powder and, what was it? Cinnamon, protein powder, and pink Himalayan salt into my jasmine rice. And I loved it.
Yeah.
Like, what even made me think of that? I have no idea what made me even think of that, but I did it in one prep and I was like, I'll eat this whenever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
But I think the meal plan is more efficient in getting to the results. Okay. So that's what I would say, just because it's very simple and it is monotonous. So it is going to take some discipline, but I feel like if you give the liberty of putting in the foods that you want into your plan, or giving a person the liberty of having this intuitive type of like, oh, I feel like this food should work for me. I mean, I feel like there's going to be a lot of mistakes there. There's going to be a lot of steps back, so to speak, right? Like you said, the Pop-Tart, like you wouldn't do it, but that's you.
Yeah.
You know, someone else might love fucking Pop-Tarts.
Right.
It might bring a nostalgic effect to them
sure.
when they were little.
Yeah.
So they might want that into it and they might do that, which is cool. Like you could do that. That's perfectly fine. But then you also got to think about overall, well, what's your health like with the quality of the food too? So my whole thing is like, there isn't really clean foods versus dirty foods. It's more or less like eat the foods that show love to your body more often than the ones that don't. Right? Because you could still have your indulgences here and there, but if you're prioritizing whole foods and you're prioritizing protein and you're prioritizing foods that show love to your body, overall, you're going to get results and you're going to be healthier.
Yeah. And so for me,
I went on a little tangent there.
No, but that's good. I mean, this is great information. Like, cause for me, I always shied away from like high sugary foods also, like with things like Pop-Tarts or, you know, I didn't, or whatever people are trying to fit in. I don't even know. But if you're trying to fit in a piece of candy or whatever it is, it's like, those were just things that I was like, I didn't want the extra sugar too. And I guess because sometimes for me, if I eat too much sugar, if I eat sugary things, it makes me crave more sugar. And not artificial sweeteners, because artificial sweeteners don't make me do that. It's the sugary stuff, like the real sugar. Yeah,
no. And when people say that artificial sweeteners do that, they don't know what they're talking about.
Thank you.
Research says otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, artificial. We could get into the artificial sweeteners, but
yes, that's fine. Let's do it.
But I agree with you 100% on what you just said. You know, because you're going to have the ebbs and flow of the sugars, right, going up and down in the blood. So when it drops, you want more. Yep. But with trying to fit sugar into your plan, I don't think that's such a big. I mean, if you're eating all processed foods, then you got to obviously revamp your diet. But when it comes down to, you know, like, hey, like I hated candy when I was little. I hated chocolate, hated candy. I started competing. I fucking love candy now. Like I love cookies. I love chocolate.
Wow.
Like, because I restricted myself from it. So like I want it. So like, if I want to fit it in there, I'll fit it in. Yeah. If I'm like, yo, I need a cookie tonight, I'm gonna have a cookie tonight.
And then it comes down to calories too, right? So it's really that if you're if you fit in, I guess you're right, because there are times when I'll pop something in my mouth, whatever, it's high sugar. Of course there are times. There's plenty of times, and it's not like I fall apart. It's just that I just want more, and then it's the more that leads to the trouble, because more means more calories. How often are you like, oh, I binged out on like lettuce and on red peppers or something? It's like, no, you're
not. You're never at all. I mean, I used to make some huge salads, but that's the thing. Like you said, oh, well, these people, you know, they make these like Pop-Tart ice cream sandwiches. It's like, all right, you're going to have that for one meal. How many calories does that take up for your day?
Right.
Like, I want to sit and get full.
Yes.
And how am I going to get full? Give me some low calorie options, like a bunch of vegetables that are going to fill me up with fiber and water.
Yes.
Like that's what I want. I want to feel full and satisfied after a meal.
Same. Yeah.
having the crash like you mentioned before.
Exactly. And also that like where I'm like, oh my God, I'm hungry now. Like it's like not even that long because it was so calorically dense, but it was small. I mean, that's why I'm always at that, like, I'm a volume eater. I've said it loud and proud for years and years and years. I have my big ass salad, my huge bowl I eat out of, and I throw in all my vegetables, and it makes me satisfied. And obviously there's always going to be the right amount of protein in there. And I put in my healthy fats, and then I'm like, okay, after the meal, I'm like, okay, that was really satisfying. But yeah, if you're working in these little, Debbie snacks or something, it's like, okay, that's great. Well, you're probably going to be hungry, in a half an hour.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you keep emphasizing the protein aspect, because like just as like a simple breakdown on how to lose body fat, like all you really need to do is maintain a calorie deficit. Like we know this.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And if you do that with at least like 80% of the time, then you're going to lose fat, you're going to lose weight. But if you, on top of that calorie deficit, you prioritize protein, you're going to be losing weight more efficiently, right? And if on top of maintaining the calorie deficit, prioritizing your protein, you actually resistance train, then you're going to really be burning fat and losing weight at your maximum potential. So I'm very, very happy that you're like, you keep prioritizing the protein, like you keep throwing it in there. Yeah.
Protein is like, I mean, protein is king to me. I mean, it's like the number one thing, but protein. And of course I love my veggies, but protein is huge. I mean, I built my whole brand around it because it's like, I mean, if it's not protein, then it's, carbs and fats, and America has a problem with those. I mean, it's like anytime that people brag about what they're eating as far as with like those high fat, high carb foods, I'm like, okay, that's something easy for us. Like, like those food porn like pages. I'm like, why? Like, I don't have a problem coming up with those ideas. Like, I can do that all day long. Like, give me the protein ideas. Give me like, I need to fit more protein. America we undereat protein. Correct?
Yeah. Undereat protein, undereat fiber.
Fiber, exactly. There was just something else I wanted to talk to you about that we were hitting on. Oh my God, we have so much that we can talk about. The artificial sweeteners. Probably the artificial sweeteners. That was like ding ding. What's your stand on artificial sweeteners? Because I mean, everybody knows my stand. They've freaking saved my entire everything. I mean, I love them.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'd rather eat my calories than drink them. Like if I'm grabbing a coffee, I'm not throwing sugar in there. I'm going to throw stevia or Splenda in there. Yep. It's funny because like you get these people like they're like, oh well, some of the sweeteners are cancer promoting, they're carcinogenic, or they're going to make your brain think that you're craving more sugar, when in reality there's no scientific literature that actually states that they're bad for human consumption at all.
Right.
And the study done with aspartame was conducted in mice that were given human quantities.
Right.
And now look at the size difference between us as humans compared to mice.
To
that's
a
like
mouse,
yeah, that's like giving a human like 3 elephant tranquilizers. Like, yeah, you're probably going to die. Like there's something's going to go wrong.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So they try to throw this stuff at you, and then like it got labeled as it got, what would it get labeled as? It was like as dangerous as your cell phone, and everyone's like, oh, we'll get rid of all the artificial sweeteners, but you're still on your cell phone. Like you're reading the article on your cell phone.
Right.
And it's the same, it has the same damage ranking. So I'm like,
aren't you tired of all the fear mongering? Like I hate social media lately with all the fear mongering. It's like, stop scaring people out of, and so much of it's scaring people out of making healthier choices, that's what pisses me off. Yeah. It really does.
I'm going to do a post. Someone actually sent to me because I've been doing these, like, I'm like going against like Gary Brecka and what he's saying.
Yeah, good.
Went against Dana White and what he said. But there's this other one that just got sent to me, and it's like he calls himself like the carnivore or something, carnivore MD or I don't know.
Okay, like yeah, sounds familiar.
And he's like, are you eating vegetables? Well, you shouldn't. They're terrible.
Yes, I saw that.
Here's why. And I'm like, what? I'm watching this video. I'm like, what? How much scientific literature? How many PMIDs can I fucking bring up to show you randomized control trials in humans that vegetables actually help health and not hurt? He's like, yeah, the lectins. And I'm like, bro, like we're not insects.
No. And the crazy part is, it's so funny because I once went to a doctor who I went to only one time because of this. I brought in my blood work, and before he looked at my blood work, he's preaching to me about his diet. I think he told me was vegetarian, and he's telling me I shouldn't cut out meats, red meat, cut out all the dairy, cut out this, cut out. He's telling me all this. We're sitting there and I'm like, he's telling me to cut everything out of the diet. Yeah. And he wants me to just be a vegetarian and blah, 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 blah. And then he goes through and I'm thinking, okay, I eat red meat, I eat dairy, I have a very balanced diet. And this guy can't wait to just all of his fear mongering on me. And then he takes out my blood work and he's like, okay, let's see what we got going on. And he's like, oh, wow. And he's circling all my numbers and he's like, well, you look great. And I'm like, yeah, I eat meat, I eat dairy, I eat everything that you just told me not to. I am almost 44 years old. I'm in great health. In fact, sometimes I feel like I like to talk about health on my social media and stuff, but where I am in my journey, so much of my stuff now is about my aesthetics and how I look because I'm healthy. I'm already healthy. I did that. I'm healthy. My cholesterol is unbelievable. My vitamin D is great. All the things that social media people talk about, or you're missing this, I don't have all the gut problems that they talk about with. I've been using sweeteners forever. I don't have the brain fog. I mean, look, if I drop dead, about some of this, I don't know. But guys, I've made it this far. I'm doing well. I promise you, I eat tons of vegetables. I eat tons of meat. I eat a very healthy, balanced diet. Yeah. Without a name. It doesn't have a name. I call it a lifestyle because I don't do any of the things. I could not maintain them. Keto, like I said, I did it so that I could I could talk about it. I like to talk about things that I have done because I feel practice what you preach, talk about things that if you've actually tried it. And I did it. And I was like, okay, did I lose weight? Sure did. My muscles were flat. My butt was a pancake. I just didn't look good. I didn't look good. I looked better with carbs. But I also, my energy was kind of tanky. I didn't like it. And got very lightheaded very easily. And keto, and I did it for a little while just to say that I did it. But I was like, can I do this forever? No, because I go to parties and I was like, oh, I can't even eat half the stuff here. I don't even, Yeah. So anyway.
You're just eating the cheese off the pizza like a fucking weirdo.
Right. Then it looks so weird. But I love it. I love it that you're debunking all of these fear-mongering creators that are just doing it for likes and follows or something.
That's exactly it. So if you look at the media today and you look at the news, everything is very negative, right? It's what's stimulating the human brain. And when you put fear into people, they want to know, they want to listen, they want to say, oh shit, I don't want that to happen to me, right? So these people, I guess you could call them great marketers because they get a ton of views, a ton of followers. They get people that actually believe their shit. I call it malpractice because you're actually hurting people in the long run, that is. But they're fantastic.
They're fantastic. I was like, oh my God, I should hire them for devotion, just sell my protein, unbelievable. And it's so funny because there's times when I'll get sucked in and I'm listening and I'm sucked in and I'll start believing them for 2 seconds. All of a sudden I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, I think the Braca guy is the one who said after 20 minutes, you start to liquefy, your muscles start to liquefy. Yeah. And I was like, wait, I have trained and done cardio on an empty stomach sometimes. And then unintentionally didn't eat intentionally didn't eat breakfast because I had to run out with the kids, and I hold a nice amount of muscle for a natural chick, and I'm thinking this guy is saying that after 20 minutes our muscles start to liquefy. Do you know what I would look like? I'd be like a puddle on the ground, like total shit. I'm like, why are you telling people this? This is so sad that there are people in the comments believing this. And they're it's he's like a preacher, and they're like, amen, liquefy muscles.
Dana White gave him this platform because Dana White's very well known. Was like, oh, he saved my life. No, Dana White, you had a terrible dietary habits. You had terrible diet habits. You didn't work out. And all he did was get your diet in shape and tell you to move more. And you did, and you lost a ton of weight.
You started healthy habits, healthier habits than what you were doing. Wow.
Yeah.
And then
not
he's
the
going to
hydrogen water or the 86-hour fast. No, man.
Oh my God. And all the fasting. That was something else that I tried. I did that like an idiot because I did work with that functional functional. Yeah. And they had me on this fasting thing. Yeah. And wow, it crashed my hormone. It fasted.
Functional?
Oh yes. I just listened to it on the treadmill the other night when I was getting my steps. And I was like, oh wow. I was like, I know exactly what he's talking about. And it crashed my hormones so badly. I ended up worse off from the fasting protocols. And I was
don't worry
like,
about it. They got supplements that can alleviate that, right?
don't worry. They're like all in my cabinet and I'm so angry about it because I was like, it's like I was caught in a very vulnerable time when I was like believing like, yeah, I have these problems. I have these issues. And I think we're all looking to sometimes we're looking to fix things that probably aren't even there. But then when they have the answers, suddenly you're like down this like hole of like, I need this. And then you realize like, oh, wow. Okay.
Well, it's funny now because like, you look at something like Gary Breck. I'm going to just stay on him because he's our pinata right now. So he is an insurance salesman. That's what he did, life insurance.
Perfect. That explains everything.
But he's a salesman, and everything that he says it to the point of like hitting people's pain points, getting them intrigued. Oh shit. It's like, oh, well, you know what? My thyroid's not so low, but maybe I'm like, don't have this methylation that he's talking about. I need to buy his test to make sure that's not the issue because you're looking for a solution to the problem you think you have. He's very good at saying like, hey, this could be it. Like you might want to do this. And everyone's like, yeah, let's do it. Okay. And it's like, like I put out a post today. Someone sent me the video and he was talking about Hashimoto's and having a low thyroid. And he was like, yeah, so Hashimoto's is diagnosed by having low T3 levels. And I'm like, no, it's fucking not, dude. It's an autoimmune disease. That's
God.
What.
And he's gonna have all these people thinking that they have it, and like,
it's insane. And I just went off. So like, I'm gonna just keep using his videos because it's giving me content. So like, anytime you get a video, like whoever's listening to this, if you get a video,
I will send it to you.
Like, yeah, please send it to me.
Actually, I'll start seeing because I go down those holes where I'm scrolling, and then I'm like, oh my God, what is going on with all, and there's some that are crazy. Remember that guy who's all jacked up on all the steroids, but he was telling everybody he was eating liver king. Yeah. Liver King. And I was like, oh my God, this is getting crazy. And I'm over here just trying to like peddle some protein that can bake. And I'm like, oh, these people are just outrageous. Like claims.
He's sitting there eating bull testicles, and he's like, when he got caught, he comes out and he's like, Liver King was a mistake. Like, I'm sorry, like I messed up, but it was made to help prevent suicide. We're like, how the
what
have one thing to do with the other? What is?
It's it's so sad. Walk, it's like just admit. Like,
listen, I messed. Yeah, I
just say, look, I was trying to make fast money, scamming people, and that's why I don't believe in all that hokey stuff. Whenever anybody says like, oh, when's your brand going to come out with fat burners? I'm like, there is no such thing as a fat burner. A fat burner is how you eat. Like, stop. Like, I'm not gonna feed into that industry. I just don't want to do that because I feel like we have enough issues as it is. Like, let's just preach healthy lifestyle, healthy habits, healthy way of like approaching food and eating. And I mean, it should just be the norm. And unfortunately it's not. And that's why there are people like you and I who want to at least, show people that there are better ways. And so
Yeah, and it's crazy too because like I'm a big fan of using supplements when needed, right?
Sure.
But like when I got my master's in applied clinical nutrition, like there was actual courses on using supplementation, and they teach you this, right? And then it wasn't until really Dr. Erin and I worked together to where she's like, hey, just so you know, like supplements, they don't have the research behind them. Like there's a few that do, and they could be like the foundational ones if they can help a client, but you don't need to like say that they need to be on X, Y, and Z because there's no research that backs it up. Like one of her big things was she would have to go through research articles during, I believe she did a master's during her residency. And she had to go through the research and find what was wrong with it. So she's really good at like saying, no, this is legitimate research. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Or this is shit. Like this study's terrible. Like the N is too small. Like the sample size is too small, or it's not random control trial. It's an observational study. Like she's really good at doing that. And she was like, with the supplements, there's not that much there. There's a few that are, but overall, like creatine's there, fish oils are there. Vitamin D3 is there. Yep. Whey protein's there. Yep. But like, besides it's all those, I mean,
Yeah. And I'm glad you listed the ones that like, you have ones that I have in my brand. Cause those are the ones that I'm like, we have a D3, a K2, like they're ones that I'm like, okay, this is what I take. This is what I do. The rest of the stuff I'm not going to push on people because I mean, I don't know. This is about people's health first, and then the rest is fun. And then, health and aesthetic and all that stuff. But it shouldn't just be just to scam people into believing they have problems and create more problems and problems.
That's what the functional world is starting to do.
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to do this again where like this episode has been amazing. I want to do it again because you and I actually now that we have had this, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many more things that this discussion, there's so many things we could talk about. But this was great, guys. I'm gonna tag Vinny's all of his social media where you can find him, and a lot of times I do share some of his stuff on my stories, which I'll share some of those ones that you just did with the myth busting. But this has been great, Vinny. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I think this conversation had a lot of good information for people, and I know they're gonna love it. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me on. And I know we were like, hey, we want to talk about a few topics, but we just talked. We just had
that's what I said to you. Yeah. I always have things I like to talk about.
The next time we could dive into specific topics, and that's fine. But I thought this was awesome. I'm glad that we finally did it, and I plan to have you on ours as well. So
that would be great. I would love that. I would love that.
Talk about your journey.
So you guys follow Vinny, and his page is awesome. He's got great info, and he's definitely Dana approved as far as someone, if you want to reach out, if you need a coach or you need guidance or help or anything like that. Vinny's awesome and obviously super friendly, so don't be shy. All right, Vinny, thank you so much. And guys, thanks for joining in another episode of Until It's Done, a devoted podcast.
So on behalf of Balanced Bodies, we just want to say thank you for joining us on this episode of the Balanced Bodies Blueprint.
We are committed to bringing valuable content. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we'd greatly appreciate it if you can take a moment and like it and leave a 5-star review.
On Apple, just go to the show, scroll down to the bottom and rate it there. If you're on Spotify, go to the show's page, click the 3 dots, and you can rate it there as well.
And if you believe in the power of knowledge, share this episode on your social media to try and get the information out there to as many people as possible.
And as you navigate your own path towards better health, remember that Balanced Bodies is forever in your corner. See you all next week.
The podcast content may include discussions of medical topics and health-related information. However, the information provided should not be considered exhaustive or complete, and it should not be relied upon as a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare providers with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment.